Ethan Gerst with the $30 donation. Whoa! Some of you guys out there have been sending me some lump sums here recently, and I don't know why you guys don't leave me some messages or something to read or something. I mean, it's crazy to look on there and see that somebody just sent me $30 randomly. Like, oh my gosh, dude, like that's wild. I mean, I really appreciate that. I don't know what else to say to that, but yeah, I know a couple of you guys here recently have been sending me some of my biggest donations ever before, so all I can say is I really do appreciate that, whether or not you're sending it because of just me making YouTube videos or my custom tracks or whatever it is, man. I appreciate that. So going in here and doing a little bit of Erode tester, whatever you want to call it. Technically it's Erode in MX Simulator, and I wanted to come in here on the MX Meresia Parker Brazil track, or Maurice, however you say that. One of my favorite tracks in this entire game, if not my favorite track in this game. I wanted to come in here and do it on this one because this was always one of those tracks that kind of had a bit more of that smooth vibe to it, had a bit more of that stock track feeling to this track right here. So I felt like it would be a real... God dang, I always overjump that a little bit. Okay. It felt like it would always be a cool track to come on here and do the terrain deformation in MX Simulator on it just to see what it would make, right? Because it's almost like one of those tracks that just... It's like it doesn't really have that big of ruts in the corners. You know, you can't really dive down in them really hardcore. They're kind of those smoothed off berm style corners, and a lot of the sections are pretty smooth and flat on this track. So I think it's a perfect track to come in here and actually test this on, because you're really going to be able to see what it's actually doing. And I have the erode set on 40. I think that's the best amount of erode to have it on when it's just you on the track and you're actually trying to make at least some kind of ruts in a decent period of time. I know Donut made his video on the erode in MX Simulator a little while back, and pretty sure that he put it on 40 way back then, and I saw that video a long time ago, and that's what made me go in there and put the 40 on there, and I think 40 is his race number too. So, but yeah, that I'm telling you right now, that is the perfect erode level to put on something when it's just you on the track and that's it. I mean, 40, you couldn't get it any more perfect than that. So definitely shout out to Donut for kind of figuring that out there. But like obviously when you have a lot of people on the track, you're going to want to tone that little puppy down a little bit. If you got 40 people on there, you can't even have it above 1 or it's going to be too wild. So, but when you just come on here by yourself, 40 is basically perfect for it. So, yeah, man, we'll see what it develops in some of these corners. Now, like I said, the corners that have the, I think I took the outside at the beginning. We'll see. We might try to take a couple little different lines here and there. Oh, I can already see that kind of developing a little bit. But like obviously your corners that are like perfectly flat are going to take a little bit longer to build up than the ones that at least have something there. When they were kind of going through the testing stages of the pro racing erode this past year, like they would go in there and they would try, putting like really small pre-made ruts in the corners so that it kind of like guided you through the corner to make the erode on that spot versus just being perfectly flat. And it definitely builds the erode a lot quicker on those sort of corners, more so than just completely smoothed off. So you'll probably end up seeing that difference here on this track whenever I get a couple more laps deep on it. So I don't really know how many laps we're going to run. I just want to run enough to where it really starts to kind of give a feeling here. Tires are collidable. So some of these insides, it could make it actually really cool on this track where you could like dig down in some of these inside ruts. I mean, it's the perfect track for it. I mean, it's almost like this dude built it for that in a way. And I know a lot of the old school tracks were kind of like this, just a little bit on that more stock track smooth feel, whereas a lot of your newer tracks have like hardcore pre-made, pre-baked roughness and ruts and stuff. So it's a lot more difficult to come in here and do like a rut tester, a road tester on those sort of tracks because they've already got such hardcore ruts and stuff on them that it's not really gonna, it's just gonna dig down where those ruts already are and make them super deep instantly. So you're not really gonna see like all that much of a actual good track being developed there. Now, can you jump this? Yeah, kind of forgot if you could or couldn't. Yeah, you can jump that. Okay, whoa. Kind of felt like Travis Pastrana there for a second doing the damn Evil Knievel jump. I was like, can I jump over this water right here? I'm not really sure. Okay, that was really sick that Pastrana did that, dude. Pastrana's my hero, bro. Love that guy. I've always loved him. He was one of the first dudes that I got into when I first got into motocross when I was like 14. It was like back in 2010 whenever I first got into motocross. And Pastrana he was kind of on his way out, but still in there a little bit, and just kind of seeing all the stuff that he had done in the past was really cool. But yeah, you guys should be able to start seeing a little bit more development here once we get a couple more laps in. I kind of messed up that rut a little bit because I hit it not really like flowing in the rut 100% properly there. So yeah, that's going to make it definitely be a little bit different. Let me go in here. I'm going to run 2 more laps, and I'm going to go ahead and skip to that. Okay, so I'm Spencer Turley from the future here, and we are on lap 5. And yeah, it's finally starting to actually develop these corners a little bit more. Obviously, it's going to have a little bit of weird chop feeling to it because it just does that whenever you have this high of erode on. But if I had it any lower than this, it would take me 20 laps until it did anything. So you kind of got to, take the good with the bad there. If you're wanting to make ruts in any decent amount of time, they're going to be a little bit choppy. You're going to have to be a little bit more patient through them. And it's kind of funny because it's almost like when you first get in there, you feel like you want to go really slow to build your ruts perfectly. It's almost like you got to be like thinking in your head, you got to really be trying hard to make the ruts good or they're not going to turn out very good. You really got to be almost building the track with your back tire here. So that's kind of the feeling it'll give to you a little bit. But like right there, that kicker I just hit, that was completely made from the Erode. That had nothing to do with the original track design here. So it's very bizarre going into a track, an older track like this that was never really meant to be played with the Erode on it. It was never really even designed for it. And then to be able to go in there and do it, it's just a fascinating thing that you can do on MX Simulator, going in there and doing that. Now, one thing I did notice is like some of these corners where the outside will be flat or the ones that are more flat, it's a lot harder for it to actually make a real rut on that. It's just a lot harder for the in-game terrain deformation to create that. I mean, it'll make it, but you got to be railing that same exact square inch of space on the track for it to really build it. The only places it's really building like halfway decent ruts that I'm actually getting into are the places that already had those pre-made little berm spots in them. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like this right here. This was already had a little bit of a pre-made berm before I ever even got on it. Those places is where it makes it a little bit better than just the flat, totally flat sections. Like this right here, this is another one of those spots that weren't super flat. It kind of had a berm around the outside. Now I'm really scared to hit that jump again. Okay. Gotta be a little careful. That water is slick. Okay, now it's built this inside right here fairly decently. Did one of those where I kind of basically like rolled the front end, like completely lost the front end, that you kind of manhandled it and picked it back up there. It never went down. So, okay, lap 6. Now we're coming around. See how I've hit this same line right out here every single time. So, it kind of builds it. That was one spot that was perfectly flat. Like, it'll kind of build it, but it's going to make it really choppy and janky feeling on those sections that didn't even have a pre-made rut to begin with. It's really going to give it that kind of weird feeling, hard to stay in the rut. It's almost like it pops you out of it before you can really even get down in it. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but that's just kind of the way the Erode system works in MX Simulator. So, okay, just kind of going on some different lines here and there, seeing what I can do. So if we can go up the inside of this again. So yeah, slowly but surely, I mean, the track's kind of coming around a little bit in a certain sense, but one thing I was going to say, though, is like when you go into one of those pre-made ruts, pre-made berms on the outside or whatever, like if you're not going all the way around the outside, let's just say you're kind of coming up to the inside, like a lot of times you do on those really long outside berms, like see, like right here, I'm kind of going up to the inside to the middle of the apex of the corner versus going all the way around. When you do that, it sort of creates this, like it almost builds a rut into the berm. So if then after you've built that, you try to go all the way, you try to rail all the way around the outside, you're just going to run right into that rut that you built into the apex of the berm in the corner. So it's going to give you a really weird feeling like that if you're not going the exact same line around the pre-made eroded rut. My God. Oh my gosh, dude, I just felt like I was on an infinite bump, like almost die type of feeling on the bike right there. That was really funny. Okay, so let's try to go around the outside. So I've kind of built this up some more. Able to really get on the throttle on that. Not going for the Mac Daddy jump. Kind of built a kicker right over that. Okay. So if we can run up this inside, that's got a really tricky. You got to take your time on that. It's made the face of that a little bit more rough. So I'll probably only end up running like maybe, I don't know, 9 laps, 10 laps maybe. Something like that on it. Some of these corners are just jacked up to crap. Like this one, it's not really doing too hot. It's just like super janky rough. Feels like you got kind of like 5 halfway completed ruts all mixed into each other. Like you don't really get down into any of them. It just kind of created this weird little, where the terrain's just kind of splicing into each other there. That's one of those spots where I'd ran too far up the inside and kind of messed it up a little bit. But either way, still decent. So they did have something here where, like, if you go in here and you're not on a server and you go to try to like go play back the race and you had Erode on, well, basically it'll act as if like in the demo that you never even had the Erode on. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't actually record basically the Erode in your replay unless it's on an actual online server. It's really bizarre how that is. Not really sure what's behind that sort of system there, but I just noticed that, you know, it's like I can't go in there now. It seems like they used to have it like that, but something they've added has made it to where you can't do it. Like I used to be able to go in there to get cool thumbnails and stuff. Like I could go in there like right here where I've got the track this amount of eroded and go in there and take a screenshot of my bike kind of in the corner but away from the bike a little bit where you could see all the ruts, but now you can't do it. When you go back in there and try to replay the demo, it acts like you never even rode on the track at all, road-wise there, so that's a little unfortunate. Kind of difficult to do thumbnails at that point. You either have to do like a, you know, a first-person thumbnail of it, or you got to do a like a third-person thumbnail of it. You can't just do a free cam thumbnail of it. So either way, not really sure why it's like that. There's really no purpose for that. Just something that's kind of randomly changed here, and something that I've noticed with it. So okay, let's see if we can kind of get our way up here a little more. Dang, we're still on lap 7. Feel like I've been on this lap forever. But yeah, you do. It's interesting how your mind does kind of learn the way that the track starts to erode, and it just automatically adjusts itself for it. Once you've you practiced a little bit on erode and stuff, you know, it's like your mind will just automatically slow itself down if it knows that it can't hit that certain section that fast. It's kind of cool how it does that. Like in this corner, you know, my mind's sitting here telling me, okay, you better take it easy or you're just going to spin right out on that weird shit. Like you got to know what you're on, and then right there it got a little too far ahead of itself. You know, it's with the Erode in this game, it's like you have to have your mind on that perfect control level. It's got to be, if you go 0.5 percentage overboard on your speed, you're going to flip over instantly. And if you're not going fast enough, it's going to look like you're barely even moving. So that's kind of how the terrain deformation system is in MX Simulator there. Oh, I knew that was going to get a little bit tricky. Kind of turning up the face of that. If you guys don't know, it doesn't really make too much over jumps that you're hitting straight on. You know, the terrain deformation system only really builds it when you're turning. So when you hit kind of like a off-cambered angled jump, that's when the jump face actually gets roughed up and muffed up. But any other type of jump that you're just hitting straight, you can't even really tell it's got any ruts or anything like that on it. So that's kind of another little bizarre thing. You know, in real life, it's going to build ruts no matter if it's turning or straight. And that's something that I feel like needs to be fixed in MX Simulator's road system. You need to be filling it more in a straight type of sense as well as in the corners and stuff like that too. So, okay. Now, I guess if you turned and whipped over the jump faces, it would start building it over the jump faces, not up the base of the face, but on the actual, you know, the lip of the jumps, it'd start building it more. I haven't really tested that. It's interesting. Now that I say that, you know, I haven't tested going in there and trying to scrub over a certain jump face like lap after lap and seeing how that affects the face. I feel like it would just kicker it out pretty hardcore, and that's about all it would do with it. But dude, check out this front end, completely losing it and bringing it back. I love doing that in this game, man. It's so much fun. It's like, oh, hey, you want me to crash? Oh, fuck you, dog. I'm not going to crash. I just love, I don't know what it is about that. I just love being able to do that in this game. It takes some skills to do that, man. You got to know exactly how much that front end's going to slide, how much it's going to spin, and how much you got to pull it around to bring it back without over correcting yourself. And it takes basically, moral of that story is it takes you a long time of playing this game to be able to save stuff like that, where you start losing your front end, you're just able to manhandle it back around. Like, that takes you forever to get the control over the bike to be able to do that in this game. So here we are, lap 9. Still nothing that's like super noticeable. You know, it's not like, oh my gosh, these ruts. I mean, like at this point, it's just kind of built them to a level that you can get down in the ruts. Basically, that's pretty much all it's done here. Whoa, that rut. Oh my God, man, that one's getting rough. Not that the rut is super big, but the roughness and the way that the terrain will splice into itself in the rut is what's caused that bizarre type of roughness on it there. Ooh. Okay, trying to go up the inside. Okay. Yeah, go up the outside of that. Whoa, I did hit a kicker off of that a little bit. Oh, let's just jump over the fence. We're never going to get back on. Just kidding. There's a perfect spot. All right. So another issue that MX Simulator's terrain deformation system runs into is the fact that it'll build it, but it don't really mean that you can see it. You know, that's definitely a problem they've had with that from the very get-go of it. And it just, because you're basing it upon, like, just simple shading. Like, the rut has to get big enough to where the actual lighting on the track creates shading over it, and that's the only real way that you're going to see it anymore than not. Whereas, like, Reflex, it actually makes it, like, it makes it to where you can really see it regardless of what kind of dirt that you're on. But this game, where it's just kind of like a decal placing system, you're not really changing what the ground actually looks like when you go over it and rut it up. You're just changing the height of the terrain and how dug down in the ground it is and stuff. So it makes it a lot trickier to actually see what you're doing in a game like this than like Reflex or something like that. So yeah, we're kind of scooping around here to lap 10. I'm probably about to wrap this baby up here. I think we've about experienced as much as you're going to experience without getting it to the unrideable point here. So some of these little sections definitely got a little bit more rough like this. You got to be a little bit careful going into some of those sections. And then coming out of that corner, super rough on the outside. Whoa! Saving it just left and right, dude. Okay, so either way, that is the Erode tester for Meresia MX Parker Brazil. So appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.